So first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming and allowing myself and the District Attorney, Billy West, to provide some clarity on questions regarding the shooting of Mr. Walker yesterday. Allow me first also to share my condolences for the family, as we understand this is a tragic event. We know many in our community have heavy hearts and they are grieving, and our thoughts are with them as well. In the course of the investigation, it became known who fired the weapon was an off-duty Cumberland County Deputy Sheriff. While our department is fully able to investigate this incident like this, I decided early on it would be best to bring the State Bureau of Investigation to come and parallel the investigation. Even though this was not an officer-involved shooting, this was a shooting that involved someone who is a law enforcement officer. The investigation process has been handled as any other death investigation. Yesterday evening, I decided to ask the SBI to take the lead in the investigation, and I appreciate them for taking the lead. I'm joined by District Attorney Billy West. We've been working closely on this, discussing from early on. He will share something with you afterwards. First, today, the investigators need your help. We would like to hear from anyone who saw what happened. Eyewitnesses should call SBI at 1-888-624-7222. It is critical that anyone who saw the incident come forward and share what they saw with SBI. Anytime a death occurs, the community should be upset. There are many postings on social media, and all too often, rumors and unverified information begin to spread. While this entire situation is under investigation by SBI, my department has also gathered a great deal of evidence. It's important to share some of the confirmed facts of this case with the public to ensure transparency as this investigation proceeds. Here are some facts. Investigators examine what is considered the technology of the truck, the black box computer, which logs speed, braking, impact, and other events. That computer did not record any impact with any person or thing. We currently have no witnesses who claim that anyone was hit by this truck. We went back and reviewed body-worn camera footage, and individuals at the scene indicated they did not witness the incident. The only witness available to us now tells us the exact opposite. Again, today, we ask for any additional eyewitnesses to please contact SBI. Investigators noted that a windshield wiper was torn off and the metal portion was used to break the windshield of the truck in several places. I want everyone to know the Fayetteville leaders take every shooting seriously. We want our city to be safe, a safe place, and we want every allegation of wrongdoing to be fully and fairly investigated. On behalf of everyone involved in the investigation, I can assure you that the SBI will continue the investigation and provide additional updates as available. We ask everyone in our community to have patience for this investigative process. Please don't share posts that's false or unverified. Peaceful protests and questions about what happened are always appropriate. And when we can share, we will, if it doesn't compromise the investigation. Spreading falsehood doesn't help anyone, and it certainly doesn't advance the cause of justice. I'm gonna give this time for District Attorney Billy West to come and share his important information, and before we start taking questions.
Good afternoon. I first want to give condolences to the family of Jason Walker. This was a tragedy for our community. Upon learning of this tragedy and speaking with Chief Hawkins as well as the SBI, what I did was I reached out to 3 independent agencies: the Attorney General's Office of North Carolina, the North Carolina Conference of District Attorneys, as well as the North Carolina Administrative Office of the Courts. And I explained to them from what we knew at that point, this unique set of circumstances, as Chief Hawkins has laid out, that we had a off-duty Cumberland County Sheriff's Office deputy, that the Fayetteville Police Department was the first to respond, and that the SBI has taken the lead in the investigation. Their recommendation was to avoid even an appearance of a conflict of interest in this matter. Their recommendation was to request an independent prosecutorial agency be assigned. I and my senior staff agree and concur with this recommendation. The Administrative Office of the Courts has assigned the North Carolina Conference of District Attorneys as the independent prosecutorial agency in this matter at my request. The Conference of District Attorneys is an independent prosecutorial agency with statewide jurisdiction, with very competent and experienced prosecutors at their disposal, and I'm sure that they will make the decision of which one of their prosecutors to assign this specific case. But again, this was a decision made based on the recommendation of the North Carolina Attorney General's Office, Conference of District Attorneys, and the Administrative Office of the Courts to avoid even the appearance of a conflict of interest in this case. We want public confidence in this process. As Chief Hawkins laid out very similarly, the SBI is asked to do an independent investigation, and we're asking an outside agency that has no connection to this jurisdiction to serve as the prosecutorial agency in this matter. So I turn it back over to Chief Hawkins at this time.
So, of course, we're open for questioning on both of our parts. So, first question.
I have a question really quickly off the bat. Do you know the identity of this person, and are you willing to release that? Of the suspect in this case?
Of course, we know the identity of the person, and for state law, we do not.
Why was he not taken into custody immediately? It would seem as if taxpayers do pay his salary. You were able to come out and say he does work for the Sheriff's Department. Why are we not able to give his name, and why was he not taken into custody immediately?
So one good question. So that's another false statement. He was taken into custody, and we got his statement. So thank you for that clarifying of whether or not he was taken and then gone through the process, which is we did bring him here, and he was investigated properly. So thank you for that question.
Is he on leave at this point during the investigation?
He is. So remember, he is treated like any other citizen, right? We don't control who he works for. We tell you in regards to the investigation. So I have no idea. He doesn't work for me.
Is that something that Mr. West could answer? Do we know? That would have to go through the
No,
sheriff?
he works for the sheriff.
Okay. At this point, you said that the only other witness who saw what happened, you said that they said the opposite. Can you clarify what exactly did the eyewitness who saw what happened say to you all?
So the question of was he struck by a vehicle? The witness said he was not struck by a vehicle. That's the clarity. Yes, sir.
Tim with ABC 11. Is there any indication that Jason Walker and this off-duty officer knew each other? My second question is also, what type of weapon was used? Was it a personal firearm or was it a work issue gun?
So no, there is no indication they knew each other at all. And at this point, it was not a service weapon.
Do you know what type of weapon it was?
No, I personally don't know right now. Not that I couldn't find it, but that's part of the investigation.
Chief Somebody said out there that he was shot in the back. You know that?
I do not know that either. I do not know that either.
How many
And
times he was shot?
I do not know that as well, and that is up for the MEs.
So
So
just make sure. He is not under arrest. You haven't arrested.
that is correct. Yes, sir.
Chief Sean Cuddy with CBS 17.
I'm sorry, let me go back. And if he does go up under arrest, sir, he will be going under arrest under the SBI.
Right.
Got it? Yes, sir.
But not by the federal police.
That is correct.
You've spoken to what witnesses have shared with you. I mean, there is a lot of chatter, as I'm sure you're aware, on social media
Yep.
in the community of it, that saying that the vehicle did strike him.
Yep.
Do you know where that information is coming from? And again, you don't have any witnesses at this point to
So thank you for that question regarding if the witness are saying anything or what's going on. So not only did we get statements, but we also went back and watched body-worn camera of statements that were said immediately by everyone out there. And it is no one said they witnessed anything.
But at this point, there's no footage of the actual incident.
Not that we have. If anyone has footage of the incident before the incident, to include if you have footage from your home, because we did a preliminary, what is called preliminary inquiry of all the homes out there to see if they have like Ring camera footage. If you have footage of that, what happened beforehand, please provide it to the SBI. That's going to be very helpful for them.
And for Mr. West, I would just ask you, I know that this deputy does not work for you, but obviously you are representative from the county. Would it be your recommendation to the sheriff at this point that this deputy should be placed on administrative leave?
That would be within the sheriff's purview completely, his employment decision. So that question would be better addressed to him.
I have a question for Chief Hawkins, Myron Pitts, Fayetteville Observer. A couple of questions. First one, did Mr. Walker have a weapon?
As far as what weapon, like a gun, as you're asking,
Like a gun.
I have been not told that he had any gun.
Okay. And secondly, I know that the person who did the shooting in this case, sheriff's office employees, you can't speak to their training or regulations.
That's correct.
But in general, in terms of the Fayetteville Police Department, what is a Fayetteville police officers, whether off duty or on duty, what's their responsibility to render aid to someone that they may have shot in an incident like that?
So every case, every situation where it's a shooting involves the totality of the situation. So trying to indicate what someone would do will involve knowing all the facts of a situation. So unfortunately, I'm not able to answer that question because every situation is totally different.
Thank you. At this point, is there an indication whether the deputy stepped outside the car and then shot, or did the shots go through the windshield?
The shots did not go through the windshield.
Okay.
Speaking of 911, or just going to 911 calls, was a 911 call ever placed by the suspect in this case?
Are you speaking, was the shooter did place a 911 call? Yes.
And Chief, are you able to elaborate any more on what exactly the deputy reports happened here? I mean, obviously according to the press release, he apparently jumped. The press release said jumped on top of the vehicle. I mean, is there any further comment on what exactly happened there?
Other than what we've already provided in the original press release, and at this time, this is when we start gathering true evidence and facts. True eyewitness statements, like I said, the documentation of the black box is crucial. The review of the vehicle is crucial to say, did this happen? So not depending on solely a statement is crucial. If we can have camera footage, collection of evidence, even if we had someone, say an outside situation, confess to a crime. We work hard to gather the evidence to present to the district attorney for a case.
Are you aware of the video that's circulating that was shot by the lady's husband that was administering aid to him? Have you seen that video?
I have, sir.
And in that video, you hear the deputy say that the crowd is being hostile. And you can clearly see in the video that's not the case. Do you sort of question what the deputy might say?
No, sir. One, I've watched it, but I didn't watch it that in depth. But also, we have no idea what occurred beforehand, but I also heard the other person say, no, that's not true. So we don't know what occurred beforehand, and that's why we're here. We're here for anyone who has evidence, video, recording, or even a person who was there beforehand at any point to come and provide statements for the SBI. That's the most important thing.
Chief Hawkins, can you provide clarity about the windshield wiper? You mentioned that it was broken.
Yes, sir.
What are you insinuating or suggesting with that? And I also want to know, has anybody told you why Walker was going in that direction?
Yeah. So for your first question, I'm just not insinuating, I'm providing you facts of the scene that we have. So the torn off windshield wiper and the damage to the window existed. Those are facts. We have no idea because we have no statement from a witness thus far of where they were going or what they were doing. Talking about Mr. Walker, correct? And we're waiting for those statements as well. Now the SBI is waiting for those statements.
When we talk about that black box and that, talk about how important that is to the investigation as far as, is that able to detect if he was hit at full speed, or is it able to detect if he jumped on the vehicle? Where do y'all draw the line when it comes to looking at that? Thank
you for that question. Let me repeat. That black box was crucial to determine that vehicle did not impact anything or anyone.
Would that include him if he jumped up onto the vehicle? would you consider that impact?
Possibly, but jumping on and climbing on are two different things. So with the black box, we would determine, and as well as other reviewing any injury to Mr. Walker did not indicate anything other than the gunshot wound. So there was not any vehicle injury to his body.
Chief, a point of issue that was seen in that video that was shot by the woman's husband was that in the wake of the shooting, the police arrived on scene and did not provide first aid. No first aid provided until the EMS arrived on scene.
Yeah.
Was that typical that officers wouldn't come and try to attend to the person at all at that point?
So you watched the video, correct? And you're well aware of the person who was providing first aid was someone in the medical profession. There's a lot of things that happen when you arrive at a scene, as that trying to secure the scene, try to secure evidence, as well as ensuring that the person is provided first aid. That person was a medical professional. If you recall, that person, our officer, did bend down, reassure it was being provided, and went on. So there was medical attention, as well as we had already started EMTs en route to the scene.
And then the deputy involved in the shooting, was his weapon taken by officers who arrived at the scene? And if not, is that standard?
We have his weapon, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
The individual
Well,
who
if you have
rendered
his
aid,
weapon, what is,
The
what is it?
So, like I said, I don't know the caliber. I don't know the caliber. That's what your question was, right?
Yeah.
But we have his weapon. So you want me to answer something I don't know the caliber, but I know it wasn't a service weapon, but we have that weapon.
Can you answer this? Do you know where Mr. Walker was shot?
No, I do not. No, I do not.
we know that, just a few moments ago, out here in front of your department, the individual who rendered aid made a statement that she left a statement with one of your officers that was about a minute long, and she said that she had never been contacted by your office since. Can you tell us, is that true?
So we have requested that individual to provide us with a copy of the video at the scene, and we notified that individual to get a statement. We also went last night to try to make contact with that individual yesterday, and we just haven't been able to. So if that person provided that information, if they can provide it to SBI. So we have been making attempts to contact the individual, but now they can contact the SBI.
Chief, to your knowledge, has the sheriff's deputy involved in the incident, has he shown any remorse about what happened?
I have no idea about that.
And I do just want to clarify, Chief, so you have not spoken yet with the woman who rendered aid, because she has made statements saying that she saw, the vehicle hit Mr.
I'm familiar with that, and as I made my statement, there is body-worn camera video footage of people who made statements on the scene, but if there's someone who is a witness, by all means come. We made attempts to contact that individual again, but we're glad that they're still reaching out. Now, hopefully they have a number now for SBI.
District Attorney West, will you ever be seeing the body-worn camera video?
Well, again, at this point, the case has been formally assigned to the North Carolina Conference of District Attorneys, so they would be making any decisions along with the SBI, that's the law enforcement agency that's involved, as to whether or not they will release it or not. And I know there are state statutes that govern that release that have to be followed, but that would be a question now for the SBI and or the Conference of District Attorneys.
Chief Hawkins, I have one more question for you, and that comes down to the communication between the investigation on the side of the Fayetteville Police Department and the SBI. How do those investigations coincide?
So as I've mentioned before, we brought them in early on, just in case. So the SBI has been in with the investigation. They came very quickly, and it wasn't until yesterday evening that they took it off. So they've been a part of listening to interviews. They've been a part of paying attention. So now it's an easy transition of where evidence is held. So we work together all the time with SBI. So it's an easy transition in communications.
So, Chief, let me just ask you this question, because we've been through this in the last 18 months. So these protesters outside of this office today, they're pretty angry, and they left here and they went to the courthouse. They came from the courthouse, they came back up here, they went back there, and they said they're not going away. You concerned about if this will lead us back to any issues that we experienced in the last 18 months or since May the 30th?
So the purpose of this conference is for transparency and to share information, to eliminate false statements that's going in social media, to make it clear what we have, and also to gather witnesses. To gather anyone who was there, we are seeking those individuals. SBI is seeking those individuals to come, bring whatever you have so that they can continue with the investigation. So, one, to clarify, the evidence that we do have is factual, not based solely on statements, and the SBI has all the information. So,
Have you been in contact with
Are you
Sheriff?
worried about it?
I think our community is really responsible, and I think our community is open to the facts. I know, as I said in my statement, we're upset, as we should be. We should be upset at every death that happens in our community. Ensuring that it is investigated thoroughly, everyone's afforded due process, every step is prepared so that who is going to make the final decision has all the facts available is crucial, is important.
Have you made any contact with Sheriff Wright about this incident? Have you spoken with him at all?
Other than notifying him of his employee.
Mr. West, can you touch a little bit on the stand your ground laws here that we might have in North Carolina that you might be aware of?
Yeah, again, I wouldn't want to comment on those. You know, one thing we cannot do as prosecutors, and certainly now that this has been assigned to another agency, is comment on the facts of a pending case, which is what this is right now, on a pending investigation.
You don't have to get facts, but just kind of briefly touch the law. What's the law? Do we have a stand your ground?
Yeah, it's relatively complex, so I really don't think I could do it justice by getting into the details, and I apologize for that. But there's been several statutes that have been passed in the last several years that deal with those issues, and I would not want to misstate those. And again, certainly I would not want to in any way try to apply them to this situation, because it'd be inappropriate to do that at this point in the investigation.
So once again, I thank everyone for coming out and sharing this information and being crucial. And please continue to have patience, understand questions now should be coming towards the SBI. Continue to feed that information. And even if you want to provide it to Crime Stoppers, we will share that information with the SBI. So thank you for coming, and I appreciate it.
Is there a lead investigator in the FBI that you're dealing with?
Well, the special agent in charge is Mitch Deaver. He is the special agent in charge. He's in charge of the southeastern division of the State Bureau of Investigation.
And he was here last night.
Yeah, he will assign probably one of his agents to be the lead agent. So the short answer is no, I don't know who the lead agent is, but Mitch Deaver's the special agent in charge.
And he was here last night.
Yeah.
So, all right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.